I pulled into the parking lot after what felt like the longest shift of the week. 12 hours of dealing with equipment failures and last-minute orders had left me exhausted. All I wanted was to grab some food, take a hot shower, and collapse on the couch. But as I walked toward my building, something felt off. There was a van parked near the entrance with Locksmith Services printed on the side. Strange, but not my problem. Probably someone got locked out. Then I saw the crowd gathered near my apartment door. Not a huge crowd, maybe 4 or 5 neighbors, but they were all staring at something. My stomach dropped as I got closer and recognized the back of her head. She was standing right at my door, holding her phone up, talking loud enough for everyone to hear. That's right, everyone. I'm taking back control. No more letting him call the shots. I stopped dead in my tracks. Was she seriously doing what I thought she was doing? A guy in a work uniform was kneeling by my door, tools spread out on the ground. The locksmith. He was already working on removing my lock cylinder. She kept talking to her phone, her voice carrying that fake confidence she used whenever she wanted attention online. 18,000 of you are watching this happen in genuine time. This is what empowerment looks like. I'm changing the locks right now, and when he comes back, he's going to find out what it feels like to be locked out of his own space. My own space. Those words hit different when you know the truth. I stood there for another moment, just watching. The locksmith was focused on his work, completely unaware he was being used as a prop in whatever performance she was putting on. The neighbors were glancing at each other, clearly uncomfortable but too curious to leave. And she just kept going, feeding off the attention. Some of you are asking if this is legal. Listen, I've been living here for months. I have just as much right to this place as he does. Maybe more, because I'm the one who actually makes it feel like a home. I almost laughed. She'd been staying here for 3 months. 3. She'd moved in with 2 suitcases and a houseplant that died within a week because she never remembered to water it. Her name wasn't on anything. Not the lease, not the utilities, not even the Wi-Fi bill she complained about constantly. But here she was, putting on a show for thousands of strangers, acting like she owned the place. The comments on her screen were flying by too fast to read from where I stood, but I could see the numbers climbing. 19,000 viewers now. This was the biggest audience she'd ever gotten, and she was feeding off it. He's going to come home and learn a valuable lesson about taking people for granted, she announced, doing a little spin for the camera. The locksmith looked up at her, confused, then went back to work. One of my neighbors, Clarence from 3B, caught my eye from across the walkway. He gave me this look, half sympathy, half disbelief. His wife Ruth was standing next to him, shaking her head slowly. I pulled out my phone and opened my lease agreement. Everything was there, my name, my signature, my bank account linked to the automatic rent payments. Then I opened my email and pulled up the thread with the property management company. Every single message was addressed to me. Just me. She was still performing for her audience. The locksmith is almost done. Can you believe this is happening? This is what it looks like when you stop accepting less than you deserve. I took a breath and started walking toward my own door. Time to end this performance. She was so focused on her phone, angling it to show the locksmith working, that she didn't notice me approaching. The neighbors did though. Clarence straightened up. Ruth put her hand over her mouth. A couple of other people who'd gathered to watch started backing away slowly. I stopped about 10 feet from my door and said, loud enough for her phone to pick it up, "Thanks for the free publicity." She spun around so fast, she almost dropped her phone. Her face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, anger, fear, then back to that fake confidence as she remembered she was still streaming. "Oh, you're home," she said, recovering quickly. She turned the camera to show me. "Everyone, here he is. Let's see how he handles this." I kept my voice level and calm. "How I handle what exactly? You breaking into my apartment." "I'm not breaking in. I live here. You've been staying here. There's a difference." The locksmith had stopped working and was looking between us, clearly realizing he'd walked into something way more complicated than a simple lock change. Ma'am, is this your apartment?" She didn't answer him. She kept her phone pointed at me, watching the comment count explode. 20,000 viewers now. This was exactly what she wanted: drama, attention, validation from strangers who didn't know the actual story. But she'd made one critical mistake. She'd done all of this publicly, with witnesses, on camera, and in about 2 minutes, she was going to learn why that was a terrible idea. I pulled out my phone and started making a call. Not to her, not to argue or plead or make a scene. To someone who could actually fix this situation properly. Yeah, hi. This is the tenant in apartment 2C. I need someone from management here immediately. Someone's attempting to change my locks without authorization. Her confident smile started to crack just a little. The comments on her screen were changing tone. I could see the shift even from where I stood. More questions now. More doubt. People asking for proof. Asking who the apartment really belonged to. Asking why she needed to change the locks if she legitimately lived there. She tried to redirect. Don't listen to him. He's just trying to manipulate the situation. I ended my call and made another one. Hi, non-emergency police line. I need an officer at the Riverside Apartments on Franklin. Someone's attempting to illegally evict me from my own apartment. The locksmith stood up, tools in hand. Look, I'm going to need to see some documentation here before I continue. This is getting weird. 22,000 viewers. Her biggest audience ever. And it was about to become her biggest nightmare. I leaned against the wall and waited. She could keep performing all she wanted. In a few minutes, the truth was going to walk right up those stairs and expose everything. And her entire audience was going to watch it happen. The locksmith was packing up his tools, clearly wanting nothing to do with whatever mess he'd stumbled into. She was still holding her phone up, but her hands were shaking slightly. The confident performance was slipping. Babe, can we just talk about this inside? You're making a scene, she said, trying to sound reasonable for her audience. I'm making a scene? You're the one streaming a felony to 22,000 people. Her face went pale. It's not a felony. Stop being dramatic. I pulled up my email and held my phone where her camera could see it. Okay, everyone watching, let me clear some things up. This is my lease agreement. See that name right there? That's me. Just me. Notice anyone else's name on this document. The comments were going insane. I couldn't read them all, but I caught enough. Wait, it's his apartment? She doesn't live there? This is fraud. Someone screen record this. She lowered her phone slightly. I've been living here for 3 months. That counts for something. It counts as you being a guest who overstayed her welcome. But sure, let's let everyone know the full story. I turned to address her camera directly. She moved in 12 weeks ago, brought 2 suitcases, never paid rent, never paid utilities. Her name isn't on a single bill, not one. But apparently, 3 months of freeloading means she owns the place now. I wasn't freeloading. I contributed. You bought groceries twice and complained every time I asked you to split the Wi-Fi bill. One of the neighbors, Fletcher from down the hall, actually laughed out loud before catching himself. Ruth was recording now too, holding up her own phone. This was going to be all over the building's group chat within minutes. She tried to recover. You're twisting everything. I took care of the apartment. I cleaned, I organized, I made it livable. You moved my stuff around and got mad when I put it back where it belonged. That's not contributing. That's redecorating without permission. The locksmith cleared his throat. Look, I'm not doing anything until I see proof from both parties. This is way above my pay grade. He started walking toward his van. Wait, I'm paying you, she called after him. Ma'am, I'm not changing locks on an apartment that might not be yours. Call me when you have documentation. He got in his van and drove off. Her audience count was at 24,000 now. This was viral territory, and every second of her humiliation was being recorded, archived, and shared across multiple platforms. I could see people in the comments already posting links to download the stream. She finally lowered her phone, her arm apparently tired. You're really going to do this? Embarrass me in front of all these people? I'm not embarrassing you. You did this to yourself. I came home to find you trying to illegally evict me from my own apartment while broadcasting it to the internet. What exactly did you think was going to happen? I thought you'd realize how serious I am. I thought you'd see that I'm not just going to accept being treated like I don't matter. You matter so little that I forgot you existed for most of today. That should tell you something. It was harsh, but accurate. She'd been background noise for weeks now. Ever since she moved in, all she did was complain, demand attention, and treat my apartment like her personal studio for content creation. I'd been planning to end things for a while. She'd just accelerated the timeline. A car pulled into the parking lot. Property management, based on the logo. A woman in business clothes got out, tablet in hand, looking extremely annoyed at being called after hours. Which one of you is the tenant? She asked, not bothering with pleasantries. That would be me. I walked over and pulled up my lease on my phone. Apartment 2C. I'm current on rent. No violations, no issues until today. The property manager, her badge said Strickland, scrolled through her tablet. Yep, I have you in the system. Lease renewed 6 months ago. And who are you? She turned to my now ex-girlfriend. I'm his girlfriend. I live here. Your name's not on the lease. I've been here for 3 months. Strickland's expression didn't change. That doesn't give you legal residency rights. You're a guest. Did you attempt to change the locks on this apartment? She held up her phone again, trying to regain control. I'm documenting everything for my followers. This is about standing up for myself. This is about attempted illegal eviction and property damage. If that locksmith had finished, you'd be looking at criminal charges. Strickland turned to me. Do you want her removed from the premises? I looked at her. She was staring at me with this mix of defiance and desperation, still holding her phone up like it was a shield. 26,000 people watching, waiting to see what happened next. Yeah, I said. I want her removed. Tonight. And I want her banned from the property. Wait, no. She started toward me, but Strickland stepped between us. Ma'am, you need to collect your belongings and leave. If you refuse, I'll call the police to escort you out. The police are already on their way, I added. I called them 10 minutes ago. Her face crumbled. The confident influencer act completely fell apart. She looked at her phone, at the comments section that was now roasting her mercilessly. And for the first time since this started, she seemed to understand how badly she'd messed up. Can we please just talk about this privately? She whispered, finally lowering the phone. No, you made this public. Now you get to deal with it publicly. 2 patrol officers came up the stairs. They looked at the crowd of neighbors, at Strickland with her tablet, at my ex still holding her phone, and the older officer sighed like he'd seen this exact scenario too many times. Someone want to explain what's going on here? I handed him my phone with the lease pulled up. I'm the tenant. She's been staying here as a guest for 3 months. I came home to find her attempting to change my locks while streaming it online. Property management has confirmed she has no legal claim to the apartment. I want her removed. The officer looked at her. Is this accurate? She didn't answer, just stood there, phone finally at her side, watching her viewer count continue to climb. 28,000 now. This was going to follow her forever. Ma'am, I need you to answer the question. Yes, she finally whispered. But I thought. Doesn't matter what you thought. You can't change someone else's locks. Gather your things. You have 15 minutes. She looked at me one more time. You're actually doing this. You did this. I'm just refusing to be part of your drama anymore. She raised her phone again, addressing her audience with tears in her eyes. I hope you all saw this. I hope you all saw how he treated me. They saw you try to steal my apartment. I corrected. That's what they saw. Strickland opened my door with her master key. 15 minutes, ma'am. Take only what's yours. If there's any dispute about belongings, we can schedule a time for you to retrieve them later, but you need to leave tonight. My ex walked inside, still streaming, still trying to control the narrative. But it was too late. The damage was done. The truth was out. And 30,000 people had watched her fail spectacularly at whatever stunt she'd been trying to pull. I stayed outside with the officers and Strickland, letting her pack without me hovering. The neighbors were finally dispersing, heading back to their apartments to gossip about what they'd just witnessed. Fletcher gave me a supportive nod before leaving. Ruth squeezed my shoulder. You handled that well, Strickland said quietly. I've seen situations like this get much uglier. I just wanted to come home and relax. Instead, I got a live show I never asked for. You'll need to change your locks anyway, just to be safe. I can have our maintenance guy come by tomorrow. Appreciate it. 15 minutes later, she emerged with 2 suitcases and a backpack. The same luggage she'd arrived with 3 months ago. She'd accumulated nothing in that time except delusions. The officers escorted her to her car. She was still holding her phone, but she'd finally ended the stream. Her last viewer count was 32,000, the most attention she'd ever gotten, and it was for all the wrong reasons. As her car pulled out of the parking lot, I finally let myself breathe. Strickland was filling out paperwork, formally banning her from the property. The officers were wrapping up their report. Everything was handled. Everything was documented. I went inside my apartment and locked the door. Tomorrow, I'd change the locks. Tonight, I'd just enjoy the silence. I woke up the next morning to 73 text messages. Not from her, thankfully. I'd blocked her number the moment she drove away. These were from people I hadn't heard from in months, some even years. Old coworkers, former classmates, even my cousin in Oregon who I talked to maybe once a year at Christmas. Every single message was some version of "Dude, is this you?" with a link attached. I clicked one. It took me to a Reddit thread with over 15,000 upvotes. The title read, "Woman tries to illegally evict boyfriend on Instagram Live." gets destroyed by facts. Someone had screen recorded the entire stream and uploaded it in segments. Every humiliating moment was there, preserved forever on the internet. The comments were brutal. Thousands of people picking apart everything she'd said, analyzing her body language, laughing at how quickly her confidence crumbled when the property manager showed up. Someone had even made a side-by-side comparison of her face at the beginning of the stream versus the end. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Fletcher from down the hall. "Bro, you're famous. Building group chat is going insane. Check it." I opened the chat. Sure enough, 52 unread messages. Ruth had sent the video she recorded from her angle, which showed my face clearly when I first walked up and saw what was happening. People were calling me the calmest man alive for how I'd handled it. Someone else had posted a link to her Instagram. Her follower count was tanking. She'd lost almost 3,000 followers overnight, and the comments on her recent posts were merciless. People calling her out, demanding explanations, posting screenshots from the stream with laughing emojis. I put my phone down and made coffee. This was going to be a long day. By noon, the maintenance guy had installed a new lock. Strickland stopped by personally to drop off the only set of keys, along with a formal trespass notice that had been mailed to her last known address. "For what it's worth," Strickland said, "I pulled up our security footage from the lobby. She let the locksmith in by telling him she was locked out of her own apartment. He had no idea she didn't live here. You might want to keep that information handy in case she tries anything legal." "You think she will?" People do strange things when they're embarrassed. Better safe than sorry. She left, and I spent the afternoon organizing. She'd taken most of her stuff, but there were remnants everywhere. A charging cable she'd left plugged in by the couch. Her shampoo in the shower. A jacket on the coat rack. I bagged it all up and set it by the door. If she wanted it back, she could coordinate through property management. My phone kept buzzing. The video was spreading to other platforms now. Twitter, Facebook, even LinkedIn somehow. My notifications were flooded with friend requests from strangers who'd seen the clip and apparently thought I needed a supportive audience. I ignored most of it, but one message caught my attention. It was from Wyatt, my best friend from high school who'd moved to Denver 3 years ago. "Just saw the video, man. That's the girl you were dating? The one who kept posting about our apartment on Instagram." I'd forgotten about that. She'd been doing that for weeks, posting photos of my living room with captions like "our cozy space" and "home sweet home." I'd asked her to stop because it felt weird, claiming ownership of something that wasn't hers. She'd gotten defensive and said I was being controlling. Now it all made sense. She'd been building a narrative online, creating this image that we lived together, that it was a shared space. And when I'd started pulling away, started mentioning that maybe she should look for her own place, she'd panicked. The Instagram Live wasn't just about revenge. It was about maintaining her image, proving to her followers that she belonged there. Except she'd forgotten one critical detail. Images don't matter when the facts tell a different story. Around 3 in the afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello. Hi. Is this the gentleman from the apartment video?" I nearly hung up. "Who's asking?" "My name's Garrison. I'm a content creator who does commentary on viral moments. I was hoping I could get your side of the story for a video I'm working on. I'd pay for your time, of course." "Not interested." "I completely understand. But just so you know, people are going to talk about this with or without your input. Might be better to set the record straight yourself." "The record's already straight. Everything was on camera. There's nothing to add." "Fair enough. If you change your mind, here's my contact info." He rattled off an email address that I didn't bother writing down. I hung up and blocked the number. The last thing I needed was to extend this circus by doing interviews. But Garrison's call made me realize something. This wasn't going away. The video was out there, spreading, mutating as people added their own commentary and reactions. My face was attached to it permanently, and somewhere out there, she was dealing with the fallout of her own choices. Part of me felt bad, not for what happened, but for how public it became. Nobody deserves to be humiliated in front of 30,000 people, even if they brought it on themselves. But then I remembered standing in that hallway, exhausted from work, just wanting peace, and instead finding her performing for an audience while trying to lock me out of my own home. The sympathy evaporated pretty quickly. That evening, my actual friends started reaching out. Not the random people from my past, but the ones who'd been around through everything. Landon called to make sure I was okay. Silas sent a message asking if I needed anything. Even my sister Hadley, who lived 2 states away, FaceTimed to check in. You handled that perfectly, she said. Seriously, you stayed calm. You had your documentation ready. You didn't yell or make threats. That's exactly how you're supposed to handle crazy. I didn't feel calm. I felt tired. Well, you looked calm, and that's what matters. She looked unhinged. You looked reasonable. That's why everyone's on your side. I don't need everyone on my side. I just needed her out of my apartment. Mission accomplished then. We talked for another 20 minutes about nothing important. It was nice, having a conversation that wasn't about the video or the drama or what happened next. Just normal sibling stuff. After we hung up, I ordered food and turned on a movie. Something mindless and action-packed that required zero emotional investment. My phone was on silent, face down on the coffee table. Whatever was happening online could wait. But right before I went to bed, curiosity got the better of me. I checked her Instagram one more time. The account was gone. Not private, not deactivated. Completely deleted. Her digital empire, the thing she'd cared about more than anything else, was just gone. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no guilt, no concern. Just a vague sense of closure. She'd built her entire identity on a platform, on likes and followers and attention. And when that platform turned against her, when the attention became criticism instead of validation, she'd had no choice but to disappear. Meanwhile, I was still here, in my apartment, with my name on the lease, living my life exactly as I had been before she showed up 3 months ago. Tomorrow, I'd go to work. I'd come home. I'd make dinner. And none of it would involve her or her drama or her desperate need for validation from strangers. That thought, more than anything else that happened, finally let me sleep peacefully. 3 days passed without a word from her. No attempts to contact me through mutual friends, no new social media accounts trying to reach out. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished completely. Then on Thursday morning, I got a call from Strickland. We have a situation. She showed up at the office this morning demanding access to the apartment. Said she left some important documents and needs to get them. I was at work, halfway through my shift. What did you tell her? That she's banned from the property and needs to coordinate through you if she wants her belongings. She didn't take it well. Started yelling about how this is all illegal and she's going to sue everyone. Security escorted her out. Did she leave? Eventually. But I wanted to give you a heads up. She seems pretty desperate. After we hung up, I checked the bag of her stuff I'd left by my door. I went through it more carefully this time. Clothes, toiletries, some jewelry, a couple of books. No documents. Nothing that could be considered important or irreplaceable. She was lying. Again, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Please, I just need 10 minutes to get my things. I won't cause any problems. I blocked it immediately. 5 minutes later, another unknown number. You can't keep my property. That's illegal. Blocked again. This continued for the next hour. Different numbers, same desperate messages. She must have been using those apps that generate temporary phone numbers. Each message got more frantic, more accusatory. Finally, I texted Landon. You still have that friend who's a lawyer? Yeah, why? Need some advice on how to handle an ex who won't stay gone. He called me back within minutes and connected me with his friend, a woman named Whitaker who specialized in tenant law. I explained the situation while she took notes. Here's what you do, she said. Document everything. Save all those messages from different numbers. If she shows up at your building again, call the police immediately. The trespass notice your property manager filed gives them grounds to arrest her for criminal trespassing. What about her stuff? Put it in storage or leave it with your building management. Send her one certified letter stating she has 30 days to arrange pickup through a neutral third party. After that, you can legally dispose of it. That's it. That's it. Don't engage with her directly. Don't respond to her messages. Don't let her manipulate you into feeling guilty. She made her choices. You're just protecting yourself. I thanked her and followed her advice exactly. Took the bag to Strickland's office, filled out the necessary paperwork, and sent a formal letter to the last address I had for her. That weekend, Wyatt flew in from Denver. We hadn't seen each other in person for almost a year, and he'd decided this was as good an excuse as any to visit. So where's the infamous hallway? He asked as we walked into my building. Right there. That's where she had the locksmith working. He shook his head. Still can't believe she thought that would work. What was the plan? You'd just accept being locked out and find somewhere else to live. I don't think she had a plan past getting attention online. We grabbed dinner at a place near my apartment. Nothing fancy, just burgers and beer. It felt good to have normal conversation with someone who knew me before all this happened. "You seem fine," Wyatt said. "I thought you'd be more messed up about it." "Why would I be messed up? She's gone. Problem solved." Most people would be at least a little shaken after their ex tries to steal their apartment on live television. "I'm not most people." He laughed. "No, you're definitely not." On Sunday, I finally checked social media properly. The video had over 2 million views across all platforms. Commentary channels had dissected every second of it. Someone had made it into a meme format. My face when I said, "Thanks for the free publicity," had become a reaction image people were using to respond to ridiculous situations. Part of me wanted to be annoyed. My privacy was gone. Random strangers recognized me at the grocery store yesterday. Someone at work had made a joke about it. But honestly, I didn't care. Because while millions of people were watching a video of the worst moment of her life, I was here in my apartment, living exactly how I wanted to live. She'd gambled everything on that performance. Her reputation, her following, her credibility. And she'd lost it all because she couldn't accept a simple truth. Just because you want something doesn't mean it belongs to you. Monday morning, Strickland called again. She picked up her belongings. Had her mom come with her to the office. Didn't say a word, just signed the paperwork and left. "That's it then. That's it. You're officially done with this situation." I hung up and went about my day. Work was busy enough to keep me distracted. By the time I got home that evening, the whole thing felt like it had happened months ago instead of just a week. The apartment was quiet. My apartment. My name on the lease. My choice who stayed and who left. And she was just gone. Finally, completely, permanently gone. 2 weeks after everything happened, I got a message from someone I actually knew. Ivy, a mutual friend who'd introduced us in the first place. "Hey, I know this is awkward, but I need to apologize. I had no idea she was like that. She told me you two were having problems and she needed support, so I believed her version of things. Then I saw the video. I'm sorry. I appreciated the honesty. Not your fault. She fooled a lot of people. She's been calling me nonstop, asking if I can convince you to talk to her. I've been ignoring it, but I thought you should know. Let her call. I'm not interested." Ivy sent me screenshots of some of the messages. They were unhinged. Walls of text about how I'd ruined her life, how she'd lost everything because of me, how I owed her a chance to explain herself. Each message contradicted the last. One claimed she was joking the whole time. Another said she was having a mental health crisis. A third blamed me for not supporting her content creation dreams. None of them included an apology. "She's trying to rebuild her following on a new account," Ivy added. Posted some vague stuff about learning from mistakes and moving forward. People aren't buying it. I looked up the new account out of curiosity. 47 followers. Her old account had 23,000 before she deleted it. The comments on her posts were mostly people from the video recognizing her and calling her out. She tried to reinvent herself, but the internet has a long memory. I blocked the new account and put my phone away. Whatever she was doing to cope with the consequences of her actions wasn't my concern anymore. Work kept me busy. Landon invited me to a basketball game. Silas dragged me to his cousin's wedding where I didn't know anyone and had a surprisingly good time. Life continued moving forward, and she became less relevant with each passing day. The only reminder came from Fletcher one evening. We ran into each other in the parking lot. "Hey, you know that video's still making rounds, right? Saw it referenced in some article about social media disasters." "Yeah, I've heard." "Doesn't bother you?" "Why would it? I'm not the one who looks bad in it." He laughed. "Fair point. Hey, some of us are getting together Friday if you want to join. Just hanging out, nothing crazy." "I'll be there." It was nice, being included in building social events. Before her, I kept to myself mostly. But after everything happened, people seemed more interested in actually knowing me. Not because of the video, but because they'd seen how I handled pressure. That Friday, I showed up at Fletcher's apartment. Ruth was there with her husband. A couple other neighbors I recognized, but hadn't really talked to. We played cards, ordered pizza, complained about the building's terrible water pressure. Normal stuff. Nobody mentioned the video. Nobody asked about her. It was just people hanging out, and I was just another person there. Around midnight, I headed back to my apartment. The hallway was quiet. My key worked perfectly in the new lock. Inside, everything was exactly where I'd left it. No drama, no performance, no desperate need for validation from strangers. Just peace. I'd learned something valuable through all of this. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And when they try to take something that doesn't belong to them, don't negotiate. Just stand your ground and let the truth do the work. She tried to write herself into my story as a main character, but in the end, she was barely a footnote. A cautionary tale about what happens when you confuse attention with importance. Meanwhile, I was still here, still living my life, still unbothered. And that, more than anything else, was the actual victory. A month later, the video was still circulating, but I'd stopped checking. It didn't matter anymore. I ran into Ivy at a gas station. She looked uncomfortable when she saw me. Hey, just so you know, she moved back to her hometown. Her parents made her get off social media completely. Good for her. You're not even curious? About what? She made her choice. I made mine. We're done. Ivy nodded slowly. She kept saying you'd eventually forgive her and take her back. I think she actually believed it. Then she didn't know me at all. That was the truth of it. She'd built this entire fantasy in her head about who I was and what our relationship meant. But she'd never actually bothered to understand me. To her, I was just a supporting character in her content creation journey. The apartment felt more like home now than it ever had when she was there. I'd rearranged some furniture, bought a decent coffee maker, finally hung up the artwork I'd been putting off for months. Small changes that made the space entirely mine. Fletcher and I started a weekly tradition of watching games together. Ruth kept inviting me to dinner with her and her husband. I was part of the building community now, not just someone who lived there. Work was steady. Life was simple. And for the first time in months, I wasn't dealing with someone else's drama. Sometimes I'd see a notification that someone had tagged me in the video. I'd delete it without looking. That moment was over. I'd moved past it. She hadn't, apparently. Ivy mentioned she tried creating another account under a fake name, but people figured it out within days. Some mistakes follow you, and trying to illegally evict someone on live television is definitely one of them. I didn't feel bad about it. She'd had every opportunity to be a decent person, to respect boundaries, to understand that staying at someone's place doesn't give you ownership of it. Instead, she'd chosen to make a spectacle, and spectacles have consequences. The last time I thought about her was when Strickland called to say the trespass notice was being made permanent in their system. After that, she was just gone from my life completely. No closure needed. No final conversation. No dramatic ending. Just me, in my apartment, living exactly how I wanted to live. The Locksmith incident became a story I'd tell at parties sometimes. People would laugh, shake their heads, ask how I stayed so calm. I'd shrug and say I just wanted to go home after work. Because that's all it ever was. I came home. She was trying to lock me out. I stopped her. End of story. She'd wanted to be unforgettable. And she succeeded, just not in the way she'd hoped. Meanwhile, I'd already forgotten her name half the time. And that was the best revenge of all.